4, 3, 2, 1.
It's episode number 35 of Dev Branch, GPTs Gone Wild. I'm Jason Tucker. Go to my website at jasontucker.blog.
That was short. I'm Faye Reed. That's my business address. That's interesting. I'm here. I'm there. I'm in the Discord.
And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper back at it again on the world's most influential WordPress podcast.
And that podcast can be found wherever it is you can find awesome podcasts, including Spotify.
Oh, is that a place to find awesome podcasts?
No.
I don't even know anymore.
Unless you're looking for ours.
And hang out with us in our Discord, WPwatercooler.com/Discord.
Now I'm having a thought about Spotify and how they monetize they like take your data and like give it back to you in a pretty format, and everyone's like, oh, I'll join that because I want them to tell me something and make up a cute name for it.
Yes, exactly.
So I just had I was like, oh, that's how that works.
That's exactly how that works.
Anyway, okay.
Hello, everyone in the chat.
Hi, people in the chat. Oh man, y'all, this is like I love our title. I really do. Like, we kind of just landed on it. And anyone who's like of a certain age of millennial will understand the reference. But I just couldn't, we couldn't find any other way to kind of encapsulate what is happening. And BT dubs, we aren't talking about AI data rights necessarily.
No,
that's not what we're talking about. Not that we would have anything to talk about that topically or anything for. But we are talking about AI in the code.
Yes.
Yeah.
The code in the machine. I was trying to figure out, like, is it the code in the code? It's like code building code, and then the human being being like, I'm going to try to use this code.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Isn't that clear? It's clear.
Well, so the thing that kind of sparked this all off is Tucker, I don't know if you have that up or handy or whatever, shared a post with us.
No, I shared that post.
You shared that post?
I shared that post.
Okay.
He reshared the post. We have a chat where
it was too early in the morning. I can't even remember what I did or didn't do.
See, what happens is
I never claim anything.
Like earlier in the week, which might as well have been like 3 years ago.
Sure.
This week, a lot happened. And then Jason, because he is our stalwart producer that keeps this show, so he's like the heartbeat, So he, as he does, was like, hey, why don't we talk about this thing we were talking about earlier? And then we're like, oh yeah,
I scroll back, look for a link.
Right.
He wades through the madness of whatever it is. And
what about this one?
Some weeks there's less madness. Some weeks there's more.
So what was that post about? What was I understand I understand the premise of it, but like, do you guys remember the exacts on it?
Yeah. I mean, you can fetch it, but do you want to fetch it or do you want me to fetch it? Who should I
can, while we're, if you want to go through scroll back or whatever, but I can grab it really quick.
Yeah, can you? And then I will summarize it. It is from I don't actually even know that they were specifically a WordPress person now that I think about it, but the general sentiment of the post on Mastodon. So the toot. I guess they're all just posts now, right? Everything's a post.
Yeah.
So the general sense of it is this person is spending a lot of time in their support forums debugging code that people are writing with ChatGPT that then is not working. Bummer. It is. You got it. It is WordPress. But it is also more general as well. It's not just WordPress, but the Stack Exchange, we've all been there. We have all been to the Stack Exchange, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I go there. I don't go there as much as I used to. But sometimes I end up there and it's like on a post from like 5 years ago, and it's useful
But so now you're essentially debugging some code that the person who actually posted about it didn't actually even write it.
Right.
They're
So now
debugging
you're
like
helping.
GPT code.
Yes. What is that? That is a feeling.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole reason that the something like the stack exchanges, the various stack exchanges work, or forums work, is out of the idea of exactly. Yay. What we needed more of was bad code. I'm so glad we're replicating more bad code. But I think the goodwill, right? The whole idea is that people who are in there are answering questions, sharing their knowledge, passing on their information, best practices, tips and tricks that they've picked up along the way. And if you are, the idea is, right, you're helping a fellow developer, you're helping out like people who are working in that language, who care about it, who are like interested in it, right? Like supportive may not be official contributing, but that WordPress exchange has supported my growth as a WordPress developer.
Sure.
And I don't even ask questions. I just, read other people's questions. So now we're going to get this, what is it even? Like just a glut of people with bad code because they don't know,
Right.
like they don't know what they're even looking at, right? Like they're like, build this thing, build it in whatever, and then the computer just spits stuff out, and there's no way for them to even know if it works or even know where to put it necessarily.
Right. Like a big thing that I've noticed is you have these folks that tend to think that they can fall back on a service like Fiverr, on these kind of like bargain basement things. And there are a lot of like legitimate people who earn a living off of Fiverr, and I'm not going to like knock that down, but there's a lot of people who are just looking for like the cheapest option, everything else. And I feel like services like ChatGPT, like Gemini now from Google,
So mad. Could not be madder. Sorry to interrupt you. Could not be madder. And every time someone says Gemini from Google, as a Gemini, I am contractually obligated to say that is not acceptable. Okay, sorry. Please proceed.
I mean, and not even there's another internet protocol called Gemini that's supposed to like reproduce what Gopher did back in the day, but with like some updated stuff.
Why do they all want to be us? Like,
there's only
I guess we're Geminis are just that cool. What? There's not enough words. Let's go back to like the ancient Greek. That's a great place to go for words. I mean, actually, I think that is a good place to go for words personally.
Yeah.
But like, they made up all the other ones. They should just keep making up words.
You're running into these things where people who think, I can just, a lot of time use the free ChatGPT account, but like, worst case, pay ChatGPT $20 a month and have it write code for me, and just tell it, hey, I need a WordPress plugin that does this. I need to modify this code to do this. I need to.
Okay, but wait, I do use ChatGPT to do that. So I have, but it's like for code I write. I'm like, recreate this function, but switch out the tables to blah and blah. Then it just spits out my same code, and then like, keeps I don't have to write that stuff then. It's nice.
You know what the correct code looks like. A lot of these people who are asking ChatGPT, asking, I won't even mention the Google service, but using,
just say Google.
Yeah,
why they don't just keep calling themselves Google. Everyone really doesn't know how to use branding. It's so annoying.
So using OpenAI solution, using Google solution, using whatever out there. I think if you through Hugging Face. Through Hugging Face, you can get access to Code Llama, which is Facebook's like open thing.
That's funny, code llama. I bet Mark Zuckerberg thinks about his employees as code llamas.
Sure. I mean, they probably all. I haven't kept up with Facebook, but I'm sure that there are plenty of business cards that still say Ninja over there. It
Right,
just
right.
Oof.
yeah, big oof.
So you could go into ChatGPT and say, I want to do this thing in WordPress, and then you could take that code and then take it over to, Meta AI or whatever and be like, hey, can you debug this code and tell me if it's good? And then you could take that over to the other one and say, hey, can you debug this code as well? And then that's like regenerative. You're kind of going from like one thing to the next, and you may essentially, if you start taking code from one to the next, you're now building out a generational code as you're going through each one of these steps to figure out if it's correct or not.
Do you remember that Google Translate game when Google Translate came out, where you would start with a phrase in English, translate it to Spanish, translate the Spanish to Italian, translate
Like
the
telephone?
Italian? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Telephone
then
translate. They think of the funnest stuff. They pay artists to think of cool stuff.
But you gotta do it between romantic and not romantic languages, and kind of change it between those, because that's when it really screws it up good.
Yeah. So eventually you get back to turning the phrase out into English, and it's fucking gibberish. And that is the code that, and if you look at it, like a lot of these coding tools, even though PHP is such a like widely used language, it's one of the most popular languages, in no small part to WordPress, which I mean, and we can get into this because it's Dev Branch. It doesn't even really stick to like PHP coding standards. Like we're pretty
so many
tragic
thoughts about PHP these days.
Yeah.
And coding standards and the world of what is happening with PHP and the PHP Foundation and the PHP, the WordPress code sniffer. Like, it has just been a wild fiasco of I think, well, not, I wouldn't say fiasco, but like what's a potential fiasco? Like, what is that? There's a ticking time bomb. There it is. I was like, there's an expression. Okay. It's like just a giant ticking time bomb of standards, really, right? That are not being kept up. Like, that was all of last year's blue with PHP. But even, I was it on the show where we were talking about the people who were working with SiteGround and keeping their, I don't think it was. So I recently was talking with someone about SiteGround, and they were like updating someone's old site, and they said, maybe it was Nye that I was talking about this with, I don't know, but whoever it is, I apologize that I'm not attributing this conversation to you. So this is a secondhand story, but the SiteGround allowed them to be on PHP. I don't think it was like 5. I think that would have been like blowing my mind, but I think it was like 7 or something like that. And they were like, how is this, like the person who I was talking with was like, how is this okay for this to be on this? Like, it's not secure at all. And they say, oh, well, as long as they go in there and check the button that says, I agree that I'm using an out-of-date version of this software, they're like, then we don't care. They just pop them on a server with all the other people who are opting out of upgrading their software, and I mean, I don't know, put up a bunch of firewalls or something.
If you think about it from a business standpoint, they're probably like, well, their money spends the same as the people who care about keeping their shit up to date. So
how do we deal with these people? We corral them over here on their own server.
What we do over at DreamHost specifically for this is for people who want to stay on an older version of PHP. We cap them at PHP 7.4, and we use a project that and we don't allow this on DreamPress because it's our managed solution. We think
you get to choose whatever PHP I use. disclaimer, I use PHP Dreampress for a lot of things. I want you to choose my PHP. You do that.
So, but
I'm gonna pay the hosting company to do that.
Our VPS customers, all those folks who have a wider choice in what PHP they use and still want to use 7.4 have to basically pay us to maintain that version of PHP 7.4. So we go in and we'll like our security team, goes back and looks at what other projects are doing. I think GoDaddy or one of those services actually has a I'm trying to remember what other host is actually participating.
Some other hosts. That's like my attribution. I was talking with someone. We're good at attributing today.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that I'm sure that what was it, attribution needed or whatever on Wikipedia, right?
Yeah
Some shit that was said on Dev Branch absolutely counts, right? As appropriate.
We are the attribution.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's all good. But it is effectively just a way where it's like, hey, if you want this old version of PHP, one, like it's going to be maintained because there is a community of people out there who are interested in keeping PHP 7.4 going until there is software out there that can be, they've kind of accelerated the timeline for how long old versions of PHP like get wiped out. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that we should keep moving forward. But when you have software like WordPress that has code that was in it that was written, nigh on 20 years ago, like, you're still going to have some stuff that, just does not run well under PHP 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and so on. So,
I think that is so fascinating, not to totally devolve into like the bus factors of the web, but like there are so many of these little pockets. PHP is one that's, a crucial stool leg for WordPress, right? But there's like all of these different crucial components. And I think that it's really interesting that we are so reliant on that and not even like it's not even the fiasco of the day, right? Like it's not like it's not even like as big of a deal as it should be. Anyway, sorry. You'll get us back on the GPT track. Sorry, we went on a total PHP.
That's all right. I was waiting for your conversation to run out of steam so I could jump in. So one of the things I was thinking about when we were working out all this stuff was the idea that a lot of people are using GPT stuff to be able to come up with the small solutions that they need. Either it's an entire, plugin, or it could just be a line of code, or a command line that I want to be able to run. So in my normal day-to-day work, I do a lot of stuff with systems administration stuff, either on computer, like servers or desktop computers and stuff like that. And I'm seeing a trend in that a lot of the way in which I would do something like write some PowerShell in Windows to be able to have it do a specific thing, like stop a service and start a service or something like that. The tools that I have now have a box that just says, describe what you want to do. It's like, I want to stop.
Because that's
it just says, it says, I want to restart the print spooler. And that's all you just tell it to say. And then out on a box pops up the 4 or 5 lines of code that you need to restart the print spooler and start it back up again. What I'm curious about into the tool set that I'm using. Yeah. So it's like you don't even have to really think about it. You just go, can I do this thing? Sure, do it. And then it'll just
using its own little LLM then, essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
really awesome.
It knows. Yeah, it knows all the different tools. It's kind of looked through the manual pages to figure out, like, if I ask for this thing, here's the different commands that you could use to do it. And then it knows a lot of the commands that should be ran to do this. What I'm wondering is this something that could happen with WPCLI, where you could say, I want to reset the password for the administrator account, and then it says, okay, well, here's what you need to do.
Isn't that I think that was the goal behind what landed on the name of command interface, right? Like for like in the admin itself, like I think that was, sort of like that, the spotlight bar on Mac, like
right,
whatever that thing is that pops up. Like I think the idea behind that was originally more spotlight, and then as AI just suddenly, came on into everything, it's like, oh well, that'll be where you can just, describe what kind of theme you want, or say I want this, and then it'll build that, right? So I think that's like where it's going. That would be based off of I guess a hyper local, right, LLM for like WordPress's own core LLM, which would be really neat. I have been talking a lot with some watchers of the show will know I talked about my brother, who's my like an advanced dev programmer. He's doing AI stuff and local and LLM stuff and like building them, and talks about like the matrix and stuff. But we've actually been talking about the other day. He was like, the real problem, and I was like, what? And he's like, agents. And I was like, agents? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And he's like, like agents. I was like, no, like Agent Smith. Oh, those agents.
Right.
Like the agents that are doing something,
like a persona. A persona to do the task.
But then it becomes its own AI that is then talking to all the other AIs and improving its own dialogue. So it essentially is what that was in the movie The Matrix, right? Agent Smith was representing a specific program that was interacting with whatever else was happening and adapting whatever. So
I
think
the thing is with those types of tools, with those types of tools, especially with something like WPCLI, is you have the base command set that comes with it, and then as you start adding plugins, these plugins then add additional commands that go along with it. So you would need to know
your own little LLM.
Yeah, because you need to know what's it'd have to look and say like,
little thing.
Oh, okay. So this particular maybe there's like a plugin that's installed for like managing cache. So you want to be able to clear the cache. Or if you're doing something with like adding a user, like what's being described in our chat, like those sorts of things.
Like these little libraries, like again, not to reference the Matrix, but like you remember when he downloads like flying a helicopter or whatever, he's like
the lexicon gets bigger now.
Like you add gravity forms or like I don't know, newsletter glue or something into your site, and then it adds a little library.
It's the nouns and verbs that you need to put together. Those nouns and verbs you need to put together to be able to make the command that comes out correctly.
I know where we can put the library files, you guys. We can put it in the uploads folder. Sorry.
Yes.
So
I had to say that.
Along with the font.
Here's the thing. There already is a place that when you add plugins, when you add more functionality to your site, you can configure it and know what's installed and everything else. It's called the WP admin dashboard. Like the CLI is meant for power users who need to know what to do, like adding Copilot, adding something like that to WPCLI. Just use the damn GUI instead. Like, I mean, because all you're doing is you're sanding down the rough edges.
The GUI is gonna be its own GPT. So it's going to be the search bar, not even the CLI, because the CLI you're talking about backend, right? That's backend stuff. The command interface, which always sounds very Star Trekian to me. Open the command interface, right? Computer. Open the command interface. Okay. That is for the admin, and that is to do things within the admin. So, But hear me out. What if this gets put in Jetpack and then everything that goes into that gets fed into, I don't know, a fire hose that was being sold to an AI company that went back into it, and then it becomes a more like basically like oh god, I just had a horrible. I was gonna think about the snake with that eats its own tail, right?
Right.
Yes, which I talk about a lot on this show, oddly. But instead, I thought about a movie that's a really terrible horror movie that involves terrible things, and of like garbage in, garbage out kind of deal.
Human
which I'm not.
Centipede.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. I was trying to not say it. It's so awful. I never saw it, but just the concept is really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I feel like we're doing right now. Or that's like the future. Not necessarily specifically with Jetpack, but the future of all these AIs. Like, I feel ChatGPT has gotten dumber personally. Like, I feel like when we first started using it last year, it was like better. And even the 3.5 was like, I don't know. Maybe it's like nostalgia, year-old nostalgia or something. But the more we've been talking this week a lot about the data that goes into these AIs, right? And the idea of poison data, right? Through things like Nightshade, which is for visual images, right? And then I don't know what you poison text with. Can you even poison text for that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You totally can.
We were
kind of, oh yeah.
we were
I have a good example.
I was going to say we were kind of joking around about this. I spent a little time earlier this week trying to think of something that effectively redirects AI crawlers to a version of my site where all of the posts have been translated into Scots English, which I've been reading Train Spotting, and for those of you who,
really hard to read.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Train Spotting is written in Scots English with the slang and everything else. So like you have to get used to reading like oot and dune and like all of the other more like complicated phrases, words, and you fall into a rhythm after reading it for a while. But I mean,
and then words like grok, like from A Clockwork Orange, start coming into your vocabulary, and now you're talking like Ewan McGregor in Train Spotting.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're climbing through a toilet. Look, we have a theme this week, you guys. Why is our GPT theme have so much to do with toilets?
Tucker, please.
Yeah. So the one that I started thinking about then when we brought this up was, I don't know, it was a couple years back. I want to say it was maybe 4 or 5 years back that the Messages app on the iPhone, where the autocorrect started to take in suggestions from other people that are using autocorrect. And so after a while you would start texting someone and it would suggest a different spelling for something. And it's like the new trend of how to spell something. And it just started getting worse and worse and worse.
Do you know
and so you get to the point where people are writing stuff in a very specific way, and then you go to write it, and it's like, no, you need to write it like the cool way. Here's the way that we're saying these things now. Yes, ducking would definitely be one of them.
I thought this was what you were going to say, because I have a vague recollection of you telling me this, but maybe it's just other people. Once people have me in their phone, right? My name, S.
Oh gosh, that's the worst.
I think it was you, right?
Happens like, I think all the damn time.
You're like writing C, like I see something, and it comes out say, and you're like, why? I'm not trying to text say right now.
Yep. The other way that it does it too is when you use Siri dictation. Siri dictation and say is the worst.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
But I've also, the other thing is having putting people's names in your contacts or company names into your contacts. Like for instance, WPwatercooler is a contact that has no phone number or anything that's in my phone. Just so whenever I say the word WPwatercooler, it spells it correctly.
That's
It
smart.
puts it all together correctly. So there's those sorts of things that, you have to look at. But that really goes back to the way that the LLM stuff works, is that by giving it guardrails to work off of, by saying, hey, here's all the collection of words that you're going to be using, that lexicon, is kind of the way that it makes it so that they're able to now start working off of that. Because they need to know what's the noun, what's the verb, how do I make these pieces get, put together, and then what are the
So
ways in which those like different either the attributes for it or the arguments that it needs in order to kind of build out that collection of words to be able to say, hey, do the thing.
So does this mean we just have to invent new slang constantly? Is what I'm like.
Ooh.
All
I
of
mean,
our
we kind of
you have
do.
to have like coded like. Did anyone read
Well,
Encyclopedia Brown when they were younger? I'm really hitting on some old millennial
Jeez.
stuff today. I know it's like
Sure.
wild, but like I learned from Encyclopedia Brown that you could write on a piece of white paper in lemon juice, and then you could hold it up to a light bulb. I didn't start any fires with this, but I could have. You'd hold it up to a light bulb, and it would like crispy the lemon juice, and like the text would appear. So like. And they have that secret mode right on iMessage where you can send something and it's like, I don't know what that does. Like if it actually does anything, it just so someone can't see it when they're looking at it, or if it like, because it's already secure, like little secret.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like not being, not having stuff scraped, or even being able to detect in the, let's just circle back to the beginning, right? In these debugging requests, there's this my headphones just died, so that's, hopefully it doesn't get weird.
You're good.
I put in the thing so you can bring it up, but there's this thing which I've been reading about because actually mostly because of the story about the guy in Scotland, I think, who did the Willy Wonka like the Willy Wonka experience, and like AI generated like the website, like all the text and the images, and then AI generated like, descriptions of things, and then created like the most asinine, like sad experience. He didn't take it far enough and ask the GPT what he should do for the experience, like how to set that up. He failed on that part. But in the articles about that, the authors that I read were talking about, we ran through like his different, like he has some House of Illuminati website or something, right? And they ran all of his various stuff, his LinkedIn, his books that he has on Amazon, ran it all through this GPT-0 thing, and it's like AI created. So this this GPT-0 thing can scan and essentially assess. I don't know if it's code so much, it's text for sure, where you can and I don't know, this is like how the bugs work, right? Like the GPT-0 is going to get better, and then the ChatGPT is going to get better, and then GPT-0 is going to get better. It's just going to be like this race to the bottom or the top, or I don't know, the skewed off to the right. I don't know where we're going. But
it's mutually assured destruction.
Exactly. That is where we're going. That's what it feels like. So I'm wearing my Zine Fest shirt today because zines are actual things that you can hold in your hand and cannot be updated or obliterated or modified unless you like physically modify it, as can books. So, just got to keep one foot in reality. But I think that this...
I have zines at my desk.
Yes, I have zines right over there. So I think that it would be interesting to bring some of that GPT-0 into something like, and it would need to be automated, right? Like it would be, it doesn't post your request. And maybe this would be good for the WordPress forums, right? It doesn't post your request if it's run through that and it feels like it's AI generated text or AI generated code. And it's going to be like, no, you can't even post that because we're trying to keep crap out, essentially. Or maybe even in the plugins. I don't know if that would work for that.
Like a Kismet.
Until your IDE that you're using is writing this code for you. I mean, the thing is like these tools exist and people are using them. So it's not like because of the fact that you're using this that you are doing something bad. I think that there's definitely some merit, to be had there. Like you can use a GPT solution to be able to come up with some type of solution and to see whether or not that actually is going to work for you. I mean, it's just like doing your first
I use it all
draft
the
of
time.
something to figure out like, what happened if I did this, and then
I
have
use it
it
for
spit out the
outlines.
code.
I use it for code checking. I use it for I've used it for some formal stuff that I need to draft, formal letters or whatever. So I think that it has, and this is the problem, right? Like, there's no hard line here between good use and bad use.
Right.
Copious amounts of air quotes. I don't know why the reaction shots don't do air quotes. They really should do that.
Yeah.
That would be rad. Sorry.
You brought this up earlier that you use GPT sometimes for your code, but the difference between you and the people who are posting for help,
right?
The big difference there is what that code does. You know what the output should look like. So if there is bad output from an AI, enough to fix it. Most people who are cheaping out, and instead of hiring a developer like one of the three of us, like any of the people who hang out in our Discord, like any of the thousands of WordPress developers who are out there, and they're just like, oh, well, I can just type some stuff into this free service and hopes it gets me to where I need to go. I mean,
then the key thing is you can do that and then keep asking ChatGPT for help. But the kind of egregiousness which comes in where the Willy Wonka-ness of it, I don't know what we're going to call it, the Oompa Loompa meth lab-ness of it comes into play when you then take your ChatGPT generated code that you can't read and you go ask another human being to help you fix it for free with, because, so you're like, it becomes the user is literally a user at that point, right? They are the middleman of siphoning off of others, without grokking the situation at all. So I think it just really, this actually goes back to what I was talking about with my brothers, that I feel like this really, it does help. It helps a lot of people, but it also enables bad actors and people with bad intentions, hustlers, hucksters, whatever, to, put up a good front enough to bilk out a bunch of parents out of a lot of money, or get a plugin approved, or put up a WordPress website or WP website with a plugin that you're selling. It enables that, and it enables it quickly. So you can fill out an entire LinkedIn profile, a fake one, really quickly right now, right? You could just be like, invent a persona and slap that stuff up and load in the, you don't have to sit there and be like, well, okay, 91 to 93, it would make sense if they did, they were at school or whatever. You just ask the ChatGPT, fill it in. So it speeds everything up. It speeds up our processes for good things, for, code debugging, but it also speeds up the bad acting and the glut that's happening now, because we don't have those tools in place to do the automatic filtering. That's what's, I think, the glut of production that's happening with code generation does not match the AI filtering for the systems that are in place for the human stuff, like the human code, like the volunteer components, the human web that has been created doesn't have the filters in place to balance out, isn't using AI to combat AI yet. So that is really skewed. And, this GPT-0 thing, I think, is, part of that. I also read recently about this cool, Endeavor initiative campaign, something that's called the Algorithmic Justice League. And it's a nonprofit that is working to educate people about the dangers of AI through art. So I just thought that was really interesting in this, just in this context. So
yeah. So since it has kind of come up over the past week or so, as it's been. I've found that I've kind of leaned on this meme a little bit, and Say and Tucker know what's coming, but effectively, and I'll put it up on screen here for the folks who are watching. Classic meme format of hard to swallow pills. That if you think that AI will replace programmers, you are maybe not that good at programming. And yeah, I mean, really,
It's really hard to do that. I'm giving myself a headache.
Can it just write the JavaScript for me though? I don't need it to do the PHP, but just the JavaScript. Can it just write the JavaScript?
Yeah,
Can it be the one that wrote JavaScript deeply?
We're all using it. It's just tools. The tools are just
tools.
getting to the point where it's enabling the tools. We've got tools enabling the tools, and we're using the tools, but we need to use the tools to fight the tools. You know what I'm saying?
Can you just write this, but with vanilla JavaScript? It's like, sure, no problem.
right.
Can you just write this JavaScript, but put it in Old English?
Right. I found this jQuery, but could you just do this?
Hey, at least you can ask ChatGPT to, like change your naming conventions, right? You can be like, make sure that none of this matches the core naming conventions of the rest of the
Yeah.
right?
Make sure the namespace is clean. Yep.
Namespace. That's what I was trying to namespace. Fix your namespaces. You have no excuses anymore. Anyway, I keep trying to like paint the future of our world, of tech world, of WordPress world as not bleak. I don't know who I'm trying to paint. I paint myself, but I guess at the end of the day, I feel like if we just keep talking about it, then at least we know what's happening to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to spin it positively. Did that help? Was that something? I don't know. The robots are coming. There's mushrooms growing on frogs. We're all going to be zombies.
The robots are definitely here at this point. They're definitely here.
They've got evil overlords operating them.
Yeah.
All the evil overlords are firing everybody. I think we need some like ghosts of Christmas past and future up in this.
Yeah. Dystopia is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet, right?
Right.
Oh, look, another T-shirt. We got to do this.
Well,
we keep talking about this, but like, oh, is that a quote from somebody?
It's technically
it's a mashup.
It's a mishmash of a William Gibson quote.
Oh well, I support a mishmash as we are here in a mishmash. Now, hey, come chat with us about the end of the world in our Discord.
Yeah, please do.
And occasionally we play some mini golf.
And sometimes the invites do expire, and we do have to go and update them again on the website. So if you tried to get on before and you weren't able to, it's open. Feel free to come hang out with us.
Yeah, but also we're looking at you.
Yes.
You have to introduce yourself. There's no, if you're in there, you're lucky. But like if you're coming now, you better just bring the real you. With none of these agents, no agents allowed.
Yeah, and if you do show up, let us know what episode you were watching, and that you came by and hung out with us, because that would be great. It'd be good to know.
Tell us what wacky thing we said inspired you to join our
right.
What was it that Say said?
We don't have cookies, but we do have an FU Pay Me channel. So
yes, that's true.
We got stuff.
Well, with that being said, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. Talk to y'all later. See you in the Discord.
Stay human.
So go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe and subscribe to our content over there. You can also find our links to our Discord over there on our website as well. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy Friday.